1580.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here's what happens when you advertise on KBLA Talk 1580.
3, possibly 4 weeks ago, I heard an advertisement on your radio station from a company called Grid Solar. I would love to have that phone number so I can reach out to them with reference to solar panels being installed on my property.
Our listeners are aware and engaged, but more than that, they are loyal. When they hear empowering messages that uplift their community and help them live better lives, they respond. No medium reaches this coveted black audience like KBLA Talk 1580. So, hit us up today at smb@kbla1580.com and let us help you connect with our loyal listeners. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Money to put.
Live from historical Leimert Park in Los Angeles, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program, want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first, national award-winning columnist and author Woody Woodburn on his new book, The Butterfly Tree, an extraordinary saga of 7 generations, and why knowing your family history is so critically important. Full disclosure here, I was tickled to discover that there is a character in this book, The Butterfly Tree, named after yours truly. How funny is that? We'll talk to Woody Woodburn about that on the top of hour 2. On the B side of hour 2, Shamar Bibbins of the Kresge Foundation's Environment Program. As we continue our year-long series of climate justice conversations, we will talk to Shamar about how cities can combat and adapt to climate change, I should say, while advancing racial and economic justice. That on the backside of hour 2. In our third hour, acclaimed author, comedian, and actor Stephen Fry joins us in studio to talk about his new book, Mythos, the illustrated edition, his movie Treasure, and a great deal more. Stephen Fry in studio today in our third hour. But in this first hour, 2 more conversations on the B side of this hour. A conversation with the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, as Donald Trump and political forces on the right set up their attacks and step up their attacks in hopes of abolishing the department should they win come November. To their mind, the Education Department indoctrinates and enslaves students across the country, and so we will talk with the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, on the backside of this hour. We commence today's show, though, talking politics with former Ohio Senator and senior fellow at the New School Institute of Race, Power, and Political Economy, Nina Turner. Before I bring Nina Turner on the line, as you all know, last night Kamala Harris, as part of this litany of the string, I should say, of conversations she's been conducting. At one point, she was taking some heat for not stepping out and doing interviews, and now she's everywhere. Last night, she agreed to sit down with Bret Baier on Fox News, so you know that got a little funky. Here's a taste of Kamala Harris and Bret Baier going at it last night on Fox News.
Listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk for anyone.
So are they misguided, the 50%? Are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
That's just a taste of what happened last night when Kamala Harris sat down again with Brett Baer at Fox News. I'm pleased to welcome Nina Turner back to this program. Senator, how are you today?
I'm fine, Brother Smiley. So good to be with you.
So good to hear your voice. Let me just jump in with a few questions about Kamala, and then we'll work our way to Obama. You were all over the news last week with your comments about former President Obama and the issue of black men. I saw you on the cover of Newsweek and everywhere else. Nina Turner was everywhere last week as a black woman out talking about this, and it struck a nerve. And so we'll talk about that a little later in this hour. But just a taste again of what happened last night. What's your sense of how Kamala Harris is doing, taking on all these interviews?
Well, I'm glad she's getting out there. Anybody that's running for president should be out there using every vehicle that they can to address the American people, to help the American people understand what they stand for and how they would serve and how they would change material conditions. So I am glad that she is finally out there. I am, however, old enough to remember when Senator Bernard Sanders did a town hall on Fox, and the Democrats at that time, 2020, they were madder than a mofo, the technical term, until they saw how many people Fox generates to watch the show, and then they all were clamoring to get on. So I guess some people can, interview on Fox and it's just fine, and others interview on Fox they consider traitors. But I digress. Brother Smiley, I just had to get that off my chest.
No, I ain't mad at you.
I was with Senator Bernard Sanders, so them neoliberals, boy, they something else.
No, the neoliberals are something else. We'll talk about those neoliberals when we come forward, and we'll also talk about progressives. It is always, I said this yesterday at a different conversation, always fascinating every 4 years when progressives like you and me have to figure out what we're going to do. What are we going to do? Because the options are stark. The differences are stark, to be sure. And yet every time we get to this space, progressives scratch their head like, what do we do now? How do we, here we are again, voting for the lesser of two evils. I digress, to quote you for now. More with Nina Turner when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high.
Kamala Harris's economic plan is focused on lowering costs for families, so you can keep more of your paycheck. That starts with the cost of housing. For first-time home buyers, she's offering $25,000 in down payment assistance. To build wealth, her plan offers up to $50,000 in new startup tax deductions. This is exactly how we can build generational wealth and strengthen our community, so we can get the chance to do more than just get by, but to get ahead.
You work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
And that chill in the air means one thing. It's truck season!
Just 5 more minutes.
No snoozing. You've got so much to do. So do it all in a Chevy Colorado or Silverado, including the HD or class-leading 440-mile range of the Silverado EV.
Wait, what? Are you talking?
Yes! Picture it. Work, play, hauling gear, off-roading. A Chevy truck can take whatever you can throw at it, including tailgating in an actual tailgate!
I mean, homecoming is just around the corner. Oh, and showing up in a new truck.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Get things done and look good doing it.
Okay, I'm up. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Without offering me a ride? That's cold.
It's Chevy truck season. Head to your local Chevy dealer and get 0% financing on all 2024 Silverado pickups when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
0% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 9.3%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available at least in some of the offers. Take me retail delivery by 10/31/24.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Grainger. Grainger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
So this new dose is, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Nina Turner, former Ohio State Senator and senior fellow at the New School Institute of Race, Power, and Political Economy. Pleased to have her back on this program. Let me follow you as I will for the time that we have here. You jumped out there with a critique of neoliberals today. Let's go a little deeper. Tell me more.
You know, neoliberals want to keep things the same. They put on a facade as if they want change, but when it comes down to it, they are for keeping the ultra wealthy in control, not doing anything to help, not only not help the middle class, but pretend like there's not the working poor, that they don't even exist. They won't even utter the words. Both duopolies have been captured, Brother Smiley, as you and I both know, and they both answer to corporations. The corporatist wings of both parties are in full control. And so I want your listeners, I want to say our listeners, not to be deceived, to go at this with their eyes wide open. Neoliberalism kills you slow and neo-fascism kills you quick. Now, I do understand that if you are posed with this question, do you want to die quick or do you want to have 48 hours to live? You might go ahead and pick the 48 hours because we might figure out a way to live. Right, just in case. We might be able to work this thing out. Mm-hmm. But they are the different sides of the same coin, and they are not going to do anything transformative. They're not going to adopt an economic bill of rights that President FDR talked about during World War II, understanding the burden that was being placed on the American people, albeit I understand that the New Deal didn't deal black people in the way that it should have. But FDR had a vision about another type of Bill of Rights, the Economic Bill of Rights, or Asa Philip Randolph's A Freedom Budget for All Americans. Mm-hmm. Asa Philip Randolph and his contemporaries were attempting to eradicate poverty within 10 years. He put this out in the late 60s with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Brother Bayard Rustin, and so many others. He was targeting the economic liberation of black folks, and understood very clearly that in order to do that, he had to broaden it, and it is a revolutionary document. As a matter of fact, at the New School, I'm working on resurrecting it. I encourage folks to go look that up. A Freedom Budget for All Americans. So they're not rocking with none of that. These neoliberals, they're not rocking with that. They want to sit back and complain about Project 2025, which is horrible, mind you. But Democrats got the same opportunity, though, to present their vision for America and not just complain about what the Republicans are doing. And listen, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party already gave them that vision. Medicare for all is doing, and I so love that you are dealing with environmental issues and you've been dealing with it, or putting it out there for people for over a year now. Increasing the federal minimum wage. I mean, Brother Smiley, I could go on and on and on. The Democrats do not have a vision to provide provision for the people. What they are doing is simply complaining about former President Donald J. Trump, who is a type of threat to democracy. Let me say that one more time, because these folks will go back and say, Sister Turner said, tell them what I said. He is a type of threat to democracy, but he's not the threat. He's not the only threat to democracy.
I receive that. Anybody who's got half a brain would have to receive that as you laid it out, and it's hard to argue that. Impossible, I think, to argue it. Let me do this right quick though.
Somebody will though.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. Of course they will. Somebody. Yeah. Somebody will try it. Somebody will try it. But it's hard. It's hard to argue that. Let me do this though. This may be a little uncomfortable for you, but I know you can handle it. So as I sit, let me just start by saying I love Bernie Sanders. I've hung out with Bernie Sanders. Yeah. I didn't work for Bernie like you did, but I know him. I consider him a friend. I've interviewed him more times than I can count. I'm a Bernie Sanders fan. And yet in this particular and peculiar moment, you sound more progressive than Bernie Sanders. If you watch and listen to what Bernie has done in this cycle, I could throw AOC in there as well. And I ain't mad at them. Everybody has their own agency to make their own choices. But you sound in this conversation, in this moment, in this election cycle, and you know exactly what I mean, you sound more progressive than Bernie Sanders. I'm not going to say that Bernie Sanders has drank the Kool-Aid, but when you read the comments that Bernie Sanders has made about Joe Biden, he came out early and often, as has AOC. And the argument, back to your point about neoliberals, is that they see Donald Trump as an existential threat. Everybody uses that phrase. And so they've lined up where they've lined up. But I'm telling you, I listen to Bernie. I listen to AOC. I listen to you. You work for Bernie, but you sound a whole lot more progressive right now than Bernie Sanders himself. I digress. You can respond.
Well, I am that one, okay?
Yeah.
I am that one. I'm a liberator. I'm even done with the word progressive. I'll still use it, but I definitely see myself as a liberator. And to your point, Senator Sanders has his right to have agency. And since I am a preacher of people having agency, that doesn't mean that I'm not disappointed. I will say about Senator Sanders over the years, as I have gotten to know him in very deep ways from 16, with him 16 co-chair in 2020, Senator Sanders really does believe that in his heart, that President Donald J. Trump is an existential threat. He's not just saying that like some of these other folks. He really does believe it. And he is conducting himself towards that singular belief. Now, I wish he would roll, believe that and then also roll a little differently, because he has a lot of cachet and influence and power. But for him, that is his number one thing. And for others, it may be something else. Now, I can't speak for Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez. I don't know her as deeply as I know Senator Sanders. I will say I'm very disappointed in certain members of the squad. There are some exclusions there. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib is on that wall standing strong. Congresswoman Cori Bush did the same thing. But, Brother Smiley, to your point, people have a right to navigate the world how they want to navigate the world. And you and I have a right to navigate the world how we want to navigate it. And it's time, if things, the stakes are too high to just go along to get along. Yeah. And if the Progressive Caucus itself in Congress, let me not just single out the squad, but if the Progressive Caucus in Congress wants to be neoliberal-like, then they might as well go on and roll with the neoliberals and just go ahead and disband the Congressional Progressive Caucus, because it really does not exist. And let me say the same thing for the Black Caucus as well. That the Congressional Black Caucus has failed Black people. And yeah, I said that, and I want y'all to run and tell that.
Before I move to the next question, I got two or three in my head right quick. Unpack that for me right quick. When you indict the CBC for having failed Black people, you mean by that what?
I mean that policies, and not just voting. I mean, Black people hold a certain position in America's history where voting is always going to be on our list because it was denied from us generation after generation. The legal system that is not just, that does see us differently historically, that is proven that we are treated in more cases than not differently because of the color of our skin. It was designed that way. And then if you poor from any walks of life, look, poor people and black people didn't create the legal system. So the legal system bends to the will of those in power and those of wealth. But we have a black caucus that did not fight like hell to increase the national minimum wage, knowing that it would have a disproportionate positive impact on black folks. They did not do it. They didn't stand on anybody's desk. They didn't stand on the desk of President Biden when he controlled both chambers and the White House in the first 2 years to pass the George Floyd Policing and Justice Act. They didn't do it for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there are a long list of things that I can name. They don't do that when it comes. They're not out here saying, minimally, y'all need to pass H.R. 40. I mean, that's the basement level. At this juncture, they're not doing it. They're not taking up reparations for the descendants of enslaved people in these United States of America. But when you go to their little conferences, see, they've been captured. They've been captured because it's sponsored by.
Yeah.
You know, all these politicians need to wear their suits need to be the way the NASCAR drivers are, so we know who owns them, the owner donors.
Yeah, that'd be fascinating to see members of Congress wearing their suits to work every day with all the patches and the banners of all the folk they've taken money from. That's a funny visual. But I could get down with that. I could get down with it. If you're gonna take the money, just wear the patch and let us see who you got the money from. I love it. I've got seven.
Oh, and I'm sorry.
Sure.
And just one other quick thing.
Sure.
And they let AIPAC take out.
Oh, yeah, I'm going there. I'm going there. Let me jump in right quick. I'm going there. I got 6 minutes. I want to make the most of these 6 minutes we have left. Since you mentioned the CBC, and now you're going there, so I'm going to follow you. They took out Bowman and they took out Bush. I've not talked to you since that happened. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Just insane that other groups, be they AIPAC, National Rifle Association, anybody, I'm talking about dark money, period, can walk all up in the black community and tell the black community, and don't get me wrong, I know that their districts are diverse, and I just want to focus right here, if the listeners just bear with me, to tell black people who their leader's going to be. I mean, they did the same thing in my district in Ohio 11. My race was actually the canary in the coal mine. But again, if you look at the CBC, they didn't lift a finger to really fight for those two members, because guess what? They wanted the members out too. They wanted them out. I am going to say the quiet part out loud. They wanted them out. The same thing with the Congressional Black Caucus. The same thing with the squad. Yeah, did some people go in there and do some things? And I'm not indicting the entire squad because it's just certain individuals and they know who they are. But did people come in there full-throated for Bowman and for Bush? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, they were working behind the scenes, some of them, and not members of the squad, but some of them CBC members were working behind the scenes to help them not make it back there. It is a betrayal because the CBC is supposed to protect, right? It's the incumbency. That's what they say all the time. It don't matter how the incumbents stand. It doesn't matter how they roll. We're here to protect incumbency. So where were they? Where were they for Bowman and Bush?
No, I hear you loud and clear, and it's hard to argue that point. There was not a forceful, full-throated support of Bowman or Bush when others, when others came, because progressives, when others came for them. I hear your point. All right, the last 5 minutes, I want to turn to the Obama thing. You had your say, as you probably know. I had my say.
You had your say.
Yeah, I had mine too. And so I'm curious as to what you were out. It happened on a Thursday. I was off that Friday, so I didn't get to it until this Monday. By the time I got to it on Monday, you were all over the news media with your critique, and I saw a range of responses to you. I saw a lot of people loving on you, hugging on you, kissing on you online, saying what needed to be said. I saw others critiquing you and telling you to sit down and shut up, because as a woman, they didn't need you speaking for them on a black man's issue that Obama had raised. So I saw the range of response to you. Tell me more about how you felt the response.
Yeah, people who love or hate me, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I feel as though I am a black mama. I'm somebody's daughter, sister, whether somebody's a spouse, I love black men, and that does not mean that we agree on every single thing, but to indict black men and have President Obama did it, you tried to warn us, Dr. West tried to warn us, Reverend Jackson tried to warn us. But in this moment, with all the stakes being so high and the Democratic Party needing their coalition to overperform, why would you try to lecture and indict the most progressive male-based period, Democrat or Republican, because black men have been more willing to give a woman an opportunity to be president than any other male group, voting group in the United States of America. In 2016, Secretary Clinton received 81%, yes, say it with me, 81% of the black vote and only received 32% of the white man vote. So don't bring it here to black men. Now, in terms of people who want me to shut up and sit down, to all the love, and I've been getting love. I mean, people have been stopping me giving me love, and I've been getting it on social media, as you said. You know, them folks, they can shut up and sit down. You can't tell me to shut up and sit down because an attack on black men is an attack on the black community. And while other groups may be able to be separate in their pursuit for liberty and justice for all, black folks have never had the luxury to be separate in our pursuit for liberty and justice for all. That means that we're together. So when you attack black men writ large as a group, and I don't care who you are, be you former president of the United States or the man in the moon, as my grandmother would say, Sister Turner gonna stand up for black men. If the roles were reversed, I would say it about black women, and I would hope that some black men would stand up and say the same thing. So shame on those people, Brother Smiley, who ain't out there. Most of them people ain't out there. They ain't never sacrificed nothing like you, like me. They ain't never going to put nothing on the line for liberty, for liberation, but they going to get up there and be champions on social media. They can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, I noticed, as did you, that the Harris campaign, I think wisely, has decided to, after having them take a seat for a week, they've decided to bring Barack Obama out again. He is coming out, but he's going to Arizona. I'll let you process that when I shut up. But he's going. They're sending him now to Arizona, not Philadelphia, not Cleveland, not Atlanta. They're sending President Obama to Arizona. I'll leave that where, as my big mama said, we're going to leave that lay where the good Lord done flung it. We'll leave it right where it is. They're sending him to Arizona. Now, I got 45 seconds left. What does a good progressive or liberator like you do in an election like this? You got 45 seconds.
I mean, I'm just out here preaching the gospel of truth. I am for the people who are suffering and hurting the most. In the words of the great James Baldwin, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. So I'm out there being a truth teller and just lifting up the people. I want to see policies that really change material conditions in the lives of black people and other working class and suffering people from all identities in this country. And it is time out for allowing people to play in our faces. We can have more and we must demand more. So let's come on and demand that more. So I ain't rolling over for no party and no individual. In summation.
She is a progressive, or she says she is a liberator. She is, by any other name, former Ohio State Senator and senior fellow at the New School Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy. She is our friend and sister, Nina Turner. Nina, I love you. Thank you for your time. We'll talk soon.
I love you, too. Looking forward to it.
Stay strong. When we come forward, a conversation with the Secretary of Education, the department that Donald Trump wants to abolish, when we continue this dialogue on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. SpaceX is suing regulators in California after officials rejected the company's plan to increase rocket launches. The lawsuit claims the California Coastal Commission engaged in naked political discrimination against the company's owner, Elon Musk. Former President Donald Trump is calling himself the father of IVF, saying he's in big support of in vitro fertilization. He made the comment during a Fox News town hall event before an all-female audience in Georgia on Tuesday. A North Carolina man accused of threatening FEMA workers is speaking out. William Jacob Parsons told WGHP he had believed FEMA wasn't helping residents when he made a Facebook post calling for volunteers to overtake a FEMA site. And BET Plus has announced that the holiday movie Brewster's Millions Christmas will premiere on December 5th. Richard Pryor Jr. said he was honored to step into the role of Montgomery Brewster, a character famously portrayed by his late father, Richard Pryor. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Is this the takeover? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers pitching staff dialed up another postseason shutout. The 8-0 win over the Mets Wednesday night in New York was the 4th shutout for the Dodgers in 8 playoff games. The Dodgers are up 2-1 in the best-of-7 National League Championship Series. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts used 5 pitchers. They teamed up to limit the Mets to just 4 hits. Starter Walker Buehler got 2 key strikeouts in the second inning to escape a bases-loaded jam. Game 4 is tonight, first pitch at 5:08. Tennis legend Serena Williams is recovering from a health scare. The Compton native had a cyst removed from her neck on Tuesday. Doctors said the cyst was not cancerous. Hampton University removed their interim tag from head football coach Trent Boykin. The HBCU school made Boykin the permanent coach. Hampton is 3-3 this season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. We aim to be a thermostat, transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is warning you about phishing scams tricking you into revealing personal info. For even more protection, choose LifeLock, which alerts you to suspicious uses of your info and fixes the issues. Start your 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/cybersafety.
Tavis Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition. With powerful new contributions from today's leading voices, this 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
I'm Jeff Davis. I believe my daughter should inherit something, but not the role and responsibility of burying me. That's why I have a pre-need burial insurance plan through Harrison Ross Mortuary. Their plan offers me 4 payment options. 1, pay in advance or pay over 3, 5, or 10-year time periods to keep the payments affordable. Contact the professionals today at Harrison Ross Mortuary. We can be reached at area code 310-704-4901. That's 310-704-4901. And ask for me, Jeff Davis. Thank you.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
A conversation now, as promised, with the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona. Even as right-wing political forces are plotting to abolish the department. We just had a conversation where we had our guest reference Project 2025. Indeed, if they have their way, if Donald Trump has his way, he's on record about this, there will be no Department of Education. I digress on that for now. There is news today, though, about student debt cancellation. So we'll get to the former in a moment, but now I want to give the Secretary an opportunity, in his own words, to share the breaking news out of the Biden administration about student debt cancellation. Mr. Secretary, good to have you on the program. How are you today, sir?
I'm great. Great to be with you, Tavis. Thank you.
It's good to have you on. Tell me about this breaking news today about student debt cancellation.
Yes, definitely. You know, we're really proud. I'm in Atlanta today just talking about what we've been able to accomplish with public service loan forgiveness. We hit 1 million public servants already in debt forgiveness, over $74 billion in debt forgiveness just for that program. You know, all total, we're at about 5 million Americans getting debt relief, about $174 billion. We're proud of the fact that we got to 1 million. Now, let me just remind you, I'm going to draw a contrast, Tavis.
Sure.
In the last administration, for 4 years, 7,000 people got it. In 3.5 years with President Biden, Vice President Harris, 1 million people got it just for public service loan forgiveness. So clearly we're trying to provide access and affordability to higher education and take care of our public servants, those same people that we called essential 4 years ago.
Let me ask this question for starters, and we'll jump from here. I'm glad it made the agenda. I'm glad it's on the docket. But tell me why and how this issue of student debt cancellation that any president prior to Joe Biden could have taken on as a project, why and how did this become an issue for the Biden-Harris team?
Well, we recognize that, you know, number one, the cost of college is going up, right?
Right.
But we also recognize the disparities in access and finishing college. And we know that, you know, the jobs of today and tomorrow, 70, 80% of the people need a degree, whether it's a 2-year degree or 4-year degree. So we're either adding to the achievement gaps or closing them. And the president was pretty serious. He said, look, we need to improve affordability and accessibility in college. Part of that is making college loan repayment more affordable. We're pushing that, and we're getting sued by our Republican friends every turn we take. Debt relief is another part of that. So we provided more debt relief than any other administration ever, and we're also working on making it more affordable to pay back loans.
So here's the part about these lawsuits that I don't get. I am not naive, and I ain't stuck on stupid. I see the same things that you see about all these lawsuits. Again, let me just ask a pretty generic question. I'll jump from there. Why are Republicans continuing to sue at every turn when the government is doing its part to try to decrease the debt of fellow citizens? What are these lawsuits about?
It's crazy, I know. And I hear what you're saying, that it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
There are Congress people in office right now that have gotten over $1 million in debt relief themselves, and they're fighting to block their constituents from getting $10,000 in debt relief. It doesn't make sense. So this is not about serving their people. It's about not letting this administration be successful helping the people of this country. So it's that basic. It's because President Biden, Vice President Harris are talking about it, we got to stop it. Their own constituents would benefit from it, and they want it.
Yeah. As significant as these numbers are, and you laid the numbers out earlier, and these are numbers that are worth bragging about. You can best believe that had Joe Biden remained on the ticket as the Democratic nominee for president, he would have raised this issue early and often. So he was going to run on this issue, and Kamala Harris has raised it 1,000 times, and she'll continue to raise it as well. These numbers are legitimate, and they're worth bragging on if you're running for president. I totally get it. And yet my question is, how much better these numbers, how much bigger these numbers, how much more impressive these numbers might be if these lawsuits hadn't slowed this down?
Without question, these lawsuits are really preventing borrowers from paying half a month. I just talked to someone earlier today who was paying $900 a month. With our SAVE plan, she would have been paying $450 a month. So this is real, and those dollars go back into the local Atlanta economy. So there's so much more that could be done. I mean, we have a student debt relief package that includes 30 million people. Okay, right now we're at 5 million people. We have a plan that we want to roll out for 30 million people, and we've been sued from pushing it forward. There's a temporary restraining order on it to push it forward from people whose constituents would benefit from it. It makes no sense, Tavis. I'm not trying to make it make sense because it doesn't.
Yeah, I get it. As the Secretary of Education, what is your view of the way the courts, and there have been any number of them, what's your view of the way the courts have handled or mishandled this issue, as it were?
You know, while we're still in litigation, I want to be very careful not to
Sure.
overly opine on that process. But what I will tell you is that we're fighting on behalf of the millions of Americans who right now are in a lifetime of debt, millions of Americans who have seen their loans triple because of the runaway interest that we're trying to take out. And we're seeing millions of Americans, smart people from different walks of life, people that weren't born into wealth, that are extremely capable, who are choosing not to go to college because of the cost. So we're here fighting for them, and then we get these lawsuits that, in my opinion, prevent us from standing up for them. People have to recognize who's fighting for you and who's fighting against you. And they just have to be informed. That's the bottom line, Tavis.
Yep. This announcement today, as you mentioned earlier, is about public service workers. Over 1 million public service workers have now received student debt cancellation under the Biden-Harris administration. I just read for you the headline from the press release. Why the focus, and what's the I should say, why the focus on public service workers in this announcement? What does that really mean that we've had debt cancellation for public service workers? Why that focus?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think part of the acknowledgement of today's announcements, we got to 1 million borrowers compared to 7,000 in the last administration. Mm-hmm. But I think this one is really important to point out because the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, that was a bipartisan bill in 2007, right? Mm-hmm. So it says you pay your loans for 10 years and you serve in public sector for 10 years, you get your loans forgiven. Well, if you do the math, 2007 it was passed, 2017 it was supposed to come into effect, but 98% of the people were denied. Mm. We fixed that, and we got to 1 million people in 3.5 years because we fixed that.
Yeah,
that's what we're celebrating.
No, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. When we come forward, I want to get Secretary Miguel Cardona's read. His perspective on the right, Donald Trump and supporters of Project 2025, wanting to abolish the Department of Education. I don't mean to make him political. He's not on the campaign trail. He's still serving in the administration. There's a line here that I recognize that he cannot cross. And yet, if, in fact, Donald Trump wins and keeps his word to abolish the Department of Education, well, first of all, Miguel Cardona ain't going to be there anyway. So if Donald Trump were to win, I can assure you he will not keep Miguel Cardona on as Education Secretary, nor would Secretary Cardona want to be there to run an agenda of abolishing the department. But it is fascinating to me, since I have the Education Secretary on the line, to ask him what he thinks of these efforts to abolish our Department of Education. We'll do that when we come forward with Miguel Cardona on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Standing up for everyday Americans is at the very foundation of who Kamala Harris is. Raised in a middle-class home by a working mother who instilled in her a passion for justice and equality. That's why when Kamala Harris became district attorney, she stood up for our kids, keeping them safe by prosecuting sex offenders. She also pioneered a program to give nonviolent drug offenders a second chance. As president, Kamala Harris will continue the fight for everyday Americans. She's already lowered the cost of your health insurance and medications. Insulin is now capped at $35 for seniors. But there's more to do because mortgages, rents, groceries, and utility bills are still too high. Harris's plan to fix it? Build more homes to lower prices and make the wealthy and billionaires pay their fair share so we get a break. All her life, Kamala Harris has been standing up for us, and she doesn't plan to stop anytime soon.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for president.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has worksource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Secretary Cardona, you'll appreciate this the fact that I've been doing this 30 years. This ain't my first rodeo, and I understand what the Hatch Act says about things you can and cannot talk about. So I'm not asking about politics. I'm asking a broad question about persons who believe that our education department ought to be abolished. Your thoughts?
I think, look, I read Project 2025. There are folks in Congress saying the same thing. This is what I'm going to say. The attempt to close the Department of Education and privatize public education started in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
They were just not as open about it. We disrupted that when President Biden won, Vice President Harris won, and we are putting our resources and our support behind public schools so that all kids can benefit, not just ones who have access to wealth. Now the plan is a little bit more out in the open, but make no mistake, public education is under attack. It's not just the Department of Education. Public education is under attack. These efforts to provide vouchers at the expense of public education dollars is an attempt to make our public education system fail, and only the fortunate few are going to have access to those dollars for education. Travis, I've spoken to school principals who told me that after the districts gave millions of dollars for vouchers in some states, the day after the kids are counted, those private schools send the students with disabilities back, the students that can't read on grade level back to their neighborhood public schools who have less dollars to meet their needs. So it's under attack without question. And this is why it's important for people to realize what's at stake and what these messages from, whether it's Project 2025 or for our Republican leaders who are in office who are talking about closing the Department of Education, what they really mean.
Yep. Just help me imagine for a moment, because I don't even know that I know the answer to this question. I can surmise, but I'm not sure that I actually know. if we did, in fact, wipe out the Department of Education, what would that mean? Like, what happens if there is no education department?
Well, it would mean that the monitoring of special education equity, the monitoring of achievement gaps between black and brown kids and their white counterparts would not be there. It would mean that there would be no oversight to ensure that students who are unfortunately on the wrong end of the achievement gap are getting the supports that they need. It would be privatizing a public good. We saw this happen at the higher education level with for-profit colleges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we saw students being taken advantage of, being victimized by colleges, predatory colleges that were, charging students $60,000, $70,000 for a degree that's not worth the paper it's written on.
Right.
We can't have that happen in our K-12 system.
Yep.
So basically the money would go to the states in block grants, and then they choose what they do with them. Public education and public schools would basically be victims to for-profit K-12 institutions that are looking to make money off students that are easier to educate and forget about those who are more difficult to educate, like students with disabilities.
I asked that question because people talk about abolishing the education department, but nobody asked that question. What would happen if there were no Department of Education? Hence my reason for putting it to and posing it to Secretary Miguel Cardona. Just a few minutes left with him. When we come forward, I want to circle back to their big announcement today about 1 million public service workers who have now received student debt cancellation. One or two more questions about that, and we'll let him go. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
I get it. The cost of rent, groceries, and utilities is too high. So here's what we're going to do about it. We will lower housing costs by building more homes and crack down on landlords who are charging too much. We will lower your food and grocery bills by going after price gougers who are keeping the cost of everyday goods too high.
Kamala Harris's economic plan is focused on lowering costs for families, so you can keep more of your paycheck. That starts with the cost of housing. For first-time home buyers, she's offering $25,000 in down payment assistance. To build wealth, her plan offers up to $50,000 in new startup tax deductions. This is exactly how we can build generational wealth and strengthen our community, so we can get the chance to do more than just get by, but to get ahead.
You work hard for your paycheck. You should get to keep more of it. As president, I'll make that my top priority. I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for President.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Secretary Cardona, got just 3 minutes left here with you. Thank you for the time we've had today. Let me ask whether or not you think that this student loan issue, because it's been bandied back and forth, the courts have been at the center of this. Republicans have sued time and time again. I wonder whether or not two things. One, whether or not the message has truly gotten through about the success of this program, given that what we read more than anything is the back and forth about the court cases. So one, I wonder, as Education Secretary, whether or not you think that what actually accomplished here has been communicated effectively. It's one thing to do the work, it's another thing to communicate that you've done the work. Has that happened, number one? And number two, is it an issue you think that resonates with people as they consider who they're going to vote for in this election season?
Sure. So, to your first question, we try our best to put people to these policies. Like today in Atlanta, I was with a police officer, a firefighter, a city worker. Let their stories resonate. People can connect with them. We need to make sure that people see there are 5 million Americans right now that are debt-free because of the work of President Biden, Vice President Harris. That's unprecedented. No other president has come close. So being on this show and being on the similar shows do matter for me to get out there, get that message out there. And then, as far as voting, I'm not telling people who to vote for, but please vote. You can't complain for 4 years if you don't vote.
Right.
So folks that are listening, it doesn't matter it does matter who you vote for, but I'm not telling you who to vote for, but get out and vote. And be knowledgeable about what you're voting for, who's going to be helped by the different visions that we have for this presidency. And then down ballot too, the local elections matter. So we laid out what the Biden-Harris administration did for people, and it's really important that people realize people have more access and affordability to college because of President Biden, Vice President Harris. Our schools have more dollars for mental health support because of them, and that's our job, to continue to fight for our students and for public education.
Yep. My extra question is this. When all the dust is settled on this matter vis-a-vis the courts, what's your sense? I know what your hope is. What's your sense of how this is going to be settled? And I'm asking that because I'm wondering whether or not this is just a blip on the radar during the Biden-Harris administration, or whether or not we will see down the road a continuation of this meaningful program where students can get their debt canceled.
Well, we fixed the public service loan forgiveness program.
Yeah.
They can't touch that in court.
Got it.
That's going to continue for generations. Kids that are being born right now that go into public service in 10, 20 years, they're going to be able to get public service loan forgiveness themselves. So that's a gift that's going to keep giving. And I hope it's not a blip in the radar. I hope people recognize that change is possible if you believe it can be done and if you work hard. The Biden-Harris administration did that. 5 million people are better. We have a plan for 30 million people that we're still trying to push right now. We're still trying to get saved, so we're not done fighting. But I hope the American people wake up and realize college should be affordable and accessible. The Biden-Harris administration got that going. 5 million people are better off for it. We expect more before we're done, and I hope that it continues into the future.
Senator Cardona, good to have you on the program. All the best to you, safe travels, and thank you for your time, sir.
Appreciate you, Tavis.
Good to have you on the program. Appreciate you. 1 hour down, 2 more hours to go. Some great conversations in front of us today. I'm glad to have you tuned in to Tavis Smiley. More when we come forward.
KBLA. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I need your dollar, that's what I need.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates small businesses, the enduring lifeblood of our community, with the launch of the KBLA SMB Marketplace. For the first time, small to medium-sized businesses will have an opportunity to promote their goods and services on KBLA and take advantage of our powerful reach and local marketing power. The SMB Marketplace is hosted exclusively on KBLA1580.com and is accessible from all our social media channels. Whether you're a small mom and pop restaurant, a car dealership, or a professional practitioner, we invite you to join in this new KBLA Talk 1580 initiative to promote your business. As a Black-owned small business, you don't want to miss this unique opportunity to gain new customers on KBLA Talk 1580. For more information, contact us today at smb@kbla1580.com. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
And if I share with you my story, would you share your shadow with me?
Time to get it. Hey,